Hello and welcome in to Addison to 35th podcast, your Chicago baseball authority. My name is Herb Lawrence. You can follow me on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. That is my last name, Lawrence, spelled backwards, 23 for Robin Ventura. If you want to follow me on Blue Sky, it is herblawrence.bsky.social. I don't really do a lot over there, but you can follow me over there if you want to. I usually do the recaps of each series, but if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see that I have a guest waiting for me. So I'll do a quick recap of what happened during the White Sox Brewers series. White Sox went down 2-3 to the Brewers. They did salvage the last game with an 8-0 victory over those Brewers. Sean Burke in the bullpen had a phenomenal game. 6 innings for Sean Burke, only giving up 2 hits. Of course, no runs in the bullpen. Nothing. 3 innings of no hits or anything, and they had a great time doing that. Mike Vassell was excellent last night. And we got a second home run last night also from Miguel Vargas, who is thinking that he is coming up, and it seemed like he's seeing the ball like a beach ball right now. So that's a little positive for the White Sox. Even though the record's not that great, you could see the wheels start turning for Will Venable's team. So without further ado, let's get to our guests. I mean, when I was reached out to say that this guy is available, I jumped on the opportunity because if you've been watching during the minor league season, you know that Ryan Galanie is absolutely destroying the baseball down there in Winston-Salem. And then right when I got the call, actually, from Paul, he got called up to Birmingham, and I don't think he skipped a beat since he's been down there in Birmingham. It is Ryan Galanie, first baseman, designated hitter for the Birmingham Barons. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Galanie. Right now, if you have not been watching, and of course, you're busy with your life, but the minor league season has started, and Ryan Galanie is hitting 311, 354, and 353 slugging with a weighted on base of 407 and a weighted runs created of 151, 4 home runs, and 26 driven in. Amazing season so far for Ryan Galanie. I really appreciate you joining me today on Addison, the 35th podcast.
I appreciate you having me on, Herb. Thank you a lot.
I just like to start off with getting people's baseball origins because myself, I came to baseball late. My parents really didn't like baseball that much. It wasn't a thing in our house. And then I started baseball after T-ball, and I was kind of good. And then they started throwing off-speed pitches in high school, and then I was not good at baseball ever after that again. Yourself, like, of course, you're killing baseball right now, but when did you start enjoying the game? When did you fall in love with baseball? How were you introduced to this great game?
I don't think you're, first off, I don't think you're alone on hitting off speed. It took me a while to learn that, I think, even into college. Um, but I fell in love with the game as young as I can remember. I think I used to walk around my backyard either hitting a golf ball or putting a baseball on a tee and just swinging at that. My parents introduced me to the game. I think I started playing t-ball when I was 2 or 3 in the backyard, and then whenever there was a first league, I uh, I was playing there. But I'm pretty sure one of the first gifts I ever got when I was little was one of those little baseball bats you get at the game, a little wooden one and a baseball. So it's kind of been a childhood dream of mine ever since I was a little kid, and then here I am today.
And you grew up in the Cincinnati area, is that correct? I know you're born in Louisiana, but were you mostly raised in the Cincinnati area?
I've been all over. So my dad traveled or moved a lot for work. We moved every 5 years. So I was born in New Orleans. I lived there for 5 years. Then I moved to Sacramento, California, closer to my mom's family for 5 years, and then to Augusta, Georgia, again for 5 years, and then to Cincinnati, Ohio for 5 years before college started. And then ever since college, I've been all over. 4 years in South Carolina, but you travel for summer ball, going off to different parts of the country, mostly the East Coast for me, and then playing pro ball just wherever they send you, whether it's Arizona, the Carolinas, or now Alabama.
It's very fascinating to me because being born and raised here in the Chicago area, of course, I can either be a White Sox or a Cub fan back when I grew up because it was kind of like static like that. It was you had to be one or the other. So I chose the White Sox. But a person like yourself who born initially in Louisiana with no team there, and then Sacramento, no team there at the time, like where did your baseball loyalty lie? Or were you just a guy who's like, I just like baseball and I like players instead of a specific team?
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a I like baseball kind of guy. Um, I always used to tell my friends that is I just used to like watching the game. I always thought it was interesting. Some people get bored by the game. I always thought it was really interesting. Funny enough, now like going to games is really weird. Especially when I'm at home. I went to a Reds game with my dad this past off season, and it, it's a completely different experience. Like the you're watching guys in the field that you might have played against in spring training one time. You're like, oh, like just a normal guy out there playing baseball. And you're learning more than you're watching. So that's always an interesting thing now. I I did start to support the Reds a little bit the longer I lived in Ohio. Everywhere else didn't have a team. The Braves were too far away from Augusta. My grandma, who lives in the Bay Area, is a huge Giants fan, and so is my aunt. Giants and A's divided that household. But for me, I never really fell in love with the team until Yasiel Puig, Trevor Bauer, and Amir Garrett, Joey Votto, Derek Dietrich. We're all on the Reds and throwing haymakers every other game. That the city of Cincinnati really enjoyed that. But I can't say I have a favorite team before. So definitely more of a player guy.
And speaking of Cincinnati, like you went to a high school that, if my audience doesn't understand, of Archbishop Muller, it is a baseball mecca out there in Cincinnati and probably United States. I mean, baseball players that went on to be Major League Baseball players are Buddy Bell, David Bell, Mike Bell, some guy named Barry Larkin, Hall of Famer, some guy named Ken Griffey Jr., Hall of Famer. Like walking into that, that tradition, how'd you feel? And then how much of an honor was it to go to such a great school?
It's an honor to be on a board with all those guys' name. I think there's 49 pro baseball players and in the double digits in the amount of pro player or big leaguers now, and I believe the only school outside of California with multiple Hall of Famers. So it's definitely an honor. Um, One of my hitting coaches sent me a picture the other day with it was all the names of the pro baseball players, and mine was right next to Griffey's. So that was really cool. Um, Something that not many people can say. And it was one of the big reasons I went there. Honestly, I just moved to Ohio right before high school, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I was playing with some kids in summer ball that were all going there, and they're trying to get me to go there. I looked at my dad. I said, "Can I please do it?" And luckily enough, he said yes. Made a little deal, but he helped me out there. So
Well,
it's great. The coach there, Tim Held, is a great guy. Still keep in contact with him. They have a great setup. They finally built a field. Um, they're not using the local park anymore, but they it's going to continue getting better, and there's only better names coming out of there now.
if you don't mind me asking, what was the deal with yourself and your dad?
He said I had to study a foreign language for all of high school. He wanted me to try and be bilingual, so then I studied Spanish for 4 years of high school, and then I studied Spanish another 4 years of college because I was basically done with the major, and it just worked out. And now I'm hanging out with Latin guys every day in the clubhouse, just chopping it up with them. So
That must be cool. I mean, it's a international language. It's a great thing to have, especially as you said, you have your Latino teammates, and you can chop it up with them. Are you pretty fluent? Spending 8 years of Spanish.
yeah, I asked one of them the other day what they'd rate it out of 10. They gave me an 8.5. That I would consider myself bilingual. It's helped me in a lot of different facets of life.
I don't know if you've ever seen the Nate McLeod video, the former Baltimore Oriole, where he kind of speaks Spanish but in a Dominican flavor, and he's a white cat like yourself, and then they call him pretty much. I forgot what they call his nickname, but his Spanish is flawless. It sounds they like, man, that man's from Santo Domingo. No, no, he's not from America at all. So your Spanish is just standard American, or is it Cuban? It's got a little Mexican flair.
So a lot of these guys that learn from their teammates, they speak a Latin dialect. Every country in Latin America is different. It's like Ben Rice, he speaks a Dominican dialect as well, if I'm not mistaken. He's pretty close with Juan Corella, who I don't. know
Yeah.
if you know, he's in the White
Hmm.
Sox org, so we've talked about that. I grew up learning a like the Spain, the country
Yeah.
dialect. And luckily enough for me, they speak with a little accent that favors me. Um, and on top of that, they like it's a lot more proper. If
Yeah.
it's just what you learn in school, like the if you were to talk about the Queen's English or like how you're writing essays, it's just a little bit more proper. Not as much slang. So I've
Hmm.
been learning that, but now I was struggling to learn the slang of different dialects. So I kind of just I'm a melting pot at this point.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And the thing is, to like through going through in this research of your whole life, I kind of have the feeling that you've been overlooked or you've been slighted a little bit. And this college you went to, Wofford, was a all right college, and you and your buddies there, when you're 4 years there, you guys made it a pretty solid college baseball program. You the first time they ever won 40 games was when you guys were there. Like, do you feel like, what you did at Archbishop Moeller, you would get like a bigger offer from bigger schools? And then why did you choose Wofford as your college out there in Spartanburg, South Carolina?
I chose Wofford. I committed a little earlier than most guys.
Hmm.
I thought it was the right time for me, and just off a gut feeling that it was the right place and that the coaches were the right people. I wanted to get back south. I knew there was good baseball in the south, and it could only help me. Um, and it worked out for me that way. Slided, I'm not too sure. I've definitely I like to tell people I've aged like fine wine a little bit when it comes to baseball. I struggled when I was young. I held myself back in eighth grade. I was really young for my class. Before then, I think in middle school, one of my buddies came to a game. He was joking with me that there could have been a girl on the team that started over me at one point. I was not as good, and I had to get better, and I loved the game. And then going to Moeller helped me out a lot. The facilities and the opportunities to get better there, the coaching, the players that would come back and talk to you and work with you, that is second to none. So that was great for my development, and I got lucky with a great group of teammates in college and a great coaching staff. Things just seemed to work out for me a little bit when it comes to that. And now in pro ball, we got great coaches in the org as well as people in my corner that I've met over the years that I keep in my circle that are not afraid to be honest with me and help me develop as much as I can in the off season. So things just seem to work out, and hopefully it continues to go that way.
Not only were you studying Spanish at Wofford, I saw that your major was computer science. Like, Ryan, like, you're pretty damn smart. Like, you got the baseball thing down pat, it seems like already, but computer science, that doesn't jive with me as far as a person who's my age. I'm 46. You're either a baseball jock or you're a smart guy. The two never really intertwine. How'd you get into computer science at Wofford?
I was really good at math growing
Okay.
up. My family likes to joke. You can't be a Galanie and be stupid. So my mom's a doctor. My dad's got his master's. I have family members that have gone to Stanford for their doctorate. Um, it's just in the blood, I guess. I don't know. My grandparents really cared about it. Um, so then my parents in turn cared about it, and here I am. Um, but I was good at math, and computer science is basically math. Uh, I hate writing essays, and computer science is like doing a puzzle every day in class. So it just worked out for me. I liked it a lot, and I wanted to actually, if I didn't play pro baseball, I wanted to work in pro baseball or work in baseball in some manner of making the game better. Um, so a lot of the analytics and stuff like that, I really like. There's some guys that I've gotten to know in the White Sox organization, in the analytics department, or guys that I knew in the past. I actually played with one of them growing up. He's like a brother from another mother to me. Who's in the
What's his name?
analytics department, Ethan Bain,
Oh,
and
okay.
we keep up a lot about that stuff. I was thinking about trying to apply to Driveline, um, and just creating new technology for the game. Um, but after my junior year, I kind of knew I was going to play pro baseball, and then another year at college worked out. So
As we always say, have your full baseball career, and it can always come back to you. I mean, you're gonna be done playing when you're 40, possibly,
that's the goal.
and then you can go right back to it. Because yeah, we need smart young players like yourself to eventually grow this game into more analytically based, which it's already there, but I think there's so much more that can be done because, as like I said, I'm 46. I didn't grow up with most of this analytic stuff, so it was hard for me to initially get it. I was one of those guys that resistant to it. Oh no, it's hits, runs, average. That's it. That's all that matters. And then kind of got into it. I'm still not there, but it takes people like yourself and all the folks at Driveline, the Rob Friedman, the Pitching Ninjas, to get older folks like myself back into things like that makes sure that the game is like, you're doing things because of this, not because it's a happenstance. And that leads me to my next question. Like, what does a person like yourself do as far as self-talk when you're going up to the box? Like when you're about to walk up and you're like, okay, do you say, okay, this pitcher has this, that, and the other? Or do you like, hey, let's motivational, we can do this? Or is it just quiet? Or is it a combination of all three? And then when you're in the box, is it different than you're walking up to the box?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, and person's always different. For me, I I like to think about my game plan a little bit more. So that starts with what do they have? That's more of a dugout thing. Five batters out, kind of looking at the scouting report. Um, three batters out, like I've or when I'm in the hole, I've kind of got my game plan down to a T. Talking to the hitting coach if there's anything else. Kind of trying to pick up where he's releasing the ball in comparison to his body. Um, then on deck, it's making sure my swing feels perfect. Not perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. Making sure my swing feels good and feeling that I can execute the game plan I have. Making sure I'm thinking about that continuously. And then as you're walking up to the plate, just trying to slow down, control yourself, control your heartbeat, your breath. Then you're in the box. At that point, you just thinking about your game plan, ready to go, and then just trying to be on whatever pitch you need to be on in that at bat. A lot of the times it's heater, but if there's ever somebody throwing a bunch of off-speed pitches, you get to cheat a little bit here and there. But just trying to control what you can control, and then stick to your game plan and your approach. And then if you do, things tend to fall. So
With yourself, is there any ever doubt in your abilities? And then if there is, how do you get yourself out of that?
yeah, everyone faces that stuff. Always a slap in the face. I think last year's a perfect example for that for me. Struggled in high A to end the year. Felt like I had a really good beginning of the year and just couldn't get it going, couldn't get the wheels turning. Um, and that knocks your confidence a little bit, but then you have to self-evaluate and you have to be honest with yourself. And a lot of people think that overthinking can kill you, but I think once you start overthinking, think a little bit more, but from a different perspective. Take a step back, take a deep breath, think about it, and just realize what actually was going on and be factual with it. And that can only help you. It's kind of how I handle things. I put a lot of trust in the Lord when it comes to that. A lot of conversations with Him, and it falls, and it's always worked out for me. So luckily this year it just keeps going.
I was wondering this, as my audience knows, I am saying this phrase ad nauseum because I live this in my life myself, and it's an old phrase. It's process over results. So I ask people mostly like, would you rather have that bleeder that goes through, the broken bat that hits you on the label, that finds a hole and you get on first base? Or would you like rather have that ball you barreled up and yeah, that center fielder chased it down, but your process was right and you feel like, okay, I'm locked in, I'm where I need to be? Or would you rather have the good results? Because I know that this game, some people are looking at your baseball card. They're like, oh man, he's 250. Oh, he's 311. Yeah. Would you rather have the actual good results or be actually in a good process zone so you can have good results later on?
That's always an interesting one. Everyone likes a little bleeder hit, but I think a lot of that actually comes from a good process.
Okay.
I heard a quote. One of the guys in my circle said to me. He said, "The stats don't show how good you are; they show how good you did that day." And I like that a lot.
Hmm.
I I think the process is very important. If you're taking care of what you can control, things baseball will reward you over time. The game rewards the grind. Um, things will fall. It's we used to relate it to poker in college. It was if you got, let's say you had a good hand and the river came and you got beat.
Hmm.
Poker doesn't hate you. God doesn't hate you. Like you're not unlucky. Just poker happened. That just happens.
Hmm.
In baseball, you hit a ball hard and a guy catches it. It just happens. You hit a ball soft and it falls. It happens. The majority of the time, the beneficial way is going about doing the right things and hitting it hard, and then the majority of the time it'll fall. Um, so I like to play the average game or the numbers game on that one. I would personally like a good process if I only had to choose two, because over time the game will reward that more than if I'm just hitting bleeder after bleeder. Um, and also, my game is not necessarily getting to first and stealing every bag. So, trying to drive the ball a little bit, score some runs, score some runners from first and second. Um, there's a runner on third with less than 2 outs. It's free money on the table.
Yeah. Now
So,
you're in Birmingham, Alabama, but for a long time you spent the time in Carolinas, either in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Then you go a couple miles up north, a couple hours up north to Canny. Then you go to Winston Salem. Like, how was that experience? To spend pretty much all your time for a couple years in relatively the same area.
it's great. I really enjoyed it. I was lucky enough to where there was somebody that was always living around where I was playing, and somebody got to come to a game every week, and it was always great to see friends, family members, whoever. I hit well in the Carolinas, so I can't say anything bad about it. Any team in that league was kind of I enjoyed. Virginia, the ball flies for me in Virginia, so I enjoyed that one too. But in totality, the people were great. The fans that I got to meet when I were there were always great to me. So I I enjoyed it, no doubt.
How does it feel to know that you're playing in Winston Salem this month or last month in April, and then you get the promotion? Like, how does that feel? Like, what was the conversation you had with the manager, and like, did you feel that you had a chance to go up that quickly, or was it like, I'm just putting my head down, if it happens it happens?
Um, in general, I was definitely just putting my head down, and if it happens, it happens. There's an old coach in the org. He's not with us anymore. We used to say, "Everywhere's your big leagues. Wherever you're at, you got to hit." So I try to keep that at the forefront of my mind wherever I'm at. Secondly, I felt like I had a good chance to get moved up at any point um, within the next couple months. Uh, I had a really good spring training. Knew that I was probably going to Winston no matter what. I had to prove myself. I think you have to dominate at a level to get moved up, and I definitely didn't dominate there last year. Um, felt like I felt like I did that in spring training, and then to start the year, I felt like I was doing that too. So I felt like there was only a matter of time, but I didn't want to put that pressure on of like, oh, if I don't get moved, what's going on? There's a good group of guys there, good coaching staff. I really enjoyed myself, so I was just trying to take in every moment, get better every day, and in the box try and go one for one. So that worked out. The conversation I had, we had just won. We had been struggling to put it all together in Winston. We had a really good team. If you look at that, if I don't know how in touch your fan base is with minor league baseball with the White Sox, the Winston Salem team is a little overlooked when it comes to talent and rankings, but really well put together and a team that likes to win, a staff that likes to win. But we just hadn't put it together yet. When we did, though, we did great things. I think we threw a no hitter and scored 10 one game. Um, Other times we beat teams, we were winning by 16-3. when we put it all together. But I think we had our record was below 500 with a plus run differential. So it was just a very interesting time. Um, but we had just won. One of my buddies, Sam Antonacci, and I were hanging out in the dugout. He told me I had to enjoy it. So we are just sitting there hanging out. And our manager, Pat Leland, walks out and goes, "Hey, you got a second?" Sits me down. And you always kind of get those feelings, whether you get called into an office or something like that, that, oh, something serious is about to happen. And luckily for me, I thought I'd been playing well. He just said, "Hey, this means a lot for me. I'd been with him for 3 years. So you're going to Birmingham. Congratulations. Keep kicking ass and go have a good time."
That's amazing. That's a great story. And we here at Addison 35th and every White Sox fan is rooting for you because it seems like you're a great guy. And as we see the numbers, it seems the power is there, seems the hitting tool is there. First base is all good. I mean, is that your favorite position? Is that the position that they have you at right now? Is that the position that you would want to play at the higher levels?
Uh, I like to hit at the higher levels.
Yeah. In the
Wherever they
lineup.
want to put me to hit, yeah. Um, yeah, I used to introduce myself as a hitter when they asked what position I played. So when it comes to that, I'm not really specific about it. I had to learn the DH last year. I hated it at first, but now like it's just another day. Um, then first base, I think in the infield is probably my favorite position. I used to play third base in college. Struggled a little bit over there. Ball comes fast off middle bats, and I think it's not going to stop at the higher levels. So it took me a while to get used to that, and then moving to first base, I feel like I have really good. I can pick the ball really well. I can control the bag, and I feel like I can put up a Gold Glove caliber defense over there. Um, and I think if you have a Gold Glove first baseman, you have a Gold Glove infield, and that I take a lot of pride in that. But I think there's a large opportunity or chance for me to start playing outfield a little bit more, and I enjoy running around out there, hanging out. It's a little bit more relaxed, but also in it, you have to be more locked in on certain things, and that's what I'm learning this year. So hopefully, keep getting better wherever they put me, and keep handling the bat well when I'm in the box.
And just to follow up on this thing you said in the middle there, we've heard this from other players as far as being young and doing a thing for their whole life. And then they're like, oh, no, you're a designated hitter today. Like, what's the adjustment there? I understand, like, just the 4 at bats you're going to get and you're kind of out the game. But is there like a serious adjustment, like to put your mindset into these are my opportunities to help the team today? And that's it. Nothing with the glove, just my hat, just my bat.
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of things that have calmed me in that manner that I learned over time. One of them being, pardon me, um, the idea that your stats don't show how good you are, just how good you did that day. Um, Another big thing for me when I was learning to do it and self-evaluating this past off season was I think you have to have fun outside of baseball to have fun inside the game. And that takes a lot of pressure off of it. You're not relying on what happens that day to really be super important um, to who you are as a person. Uh, then I felt like if I wasn't focusing on getting better outside of the game that day, whether I'm DHing or honestly in general, no matter where I'm playing, it put a lot of pressure on the game where you have to get the results. So I've really focused on just getting better outside of the game this year. And it's allowed me to play with a lot more freedom. Then the biggest one for DH and solidarity is you just have to kind of learn to lock out and lock back in. I was a guy that just tried to stay locked in the whole game, and that kind of messed with me because you're overthinking your at bats. You're like, what if I did this or that or a little bit differently? And like, can't really think like that. Like, oh, whatever happens, happens up there. Um, you go about your process the right way. You try and control what you can control and stick to your game plan. Like things will work out in the long run. You can't force a 4-for-4 day. Um, so I had to learn that a little bit. So it's nice when you have some starting pitchers in the dugout that aren't pitching or I've already pitched that week, and you can, for lack of better terms, bullshit with them. So in between at bats, I wear like a little hoodie. When the hoodie's on, I'm just hanging out. And when the hoodie's off, it's time for me to hit. So it helps a little bit to have something like that.
It's kind of like a light switch. Like I'm
Yeah,
off, now I'm on. Cool.
yeah.
And the last thing, I really appreciate the time. I know I'm kind of going over where
No
I
worries.
told you. I got some rapid fire questions, quick answers, quick questions. Your favorite food?
Ooh, jambalaya.
Delicious. Favorite baseball movie?
Ooh, Sandlot.
That's a pretty good one. Have you ever been to Chicago?
I have been once. I picked up a bug. I went on a road trip around America. That's a story for another time. But I picked up one of my good friends in Chicago.
That's good. Your favorite team growing up? We've already gone through that. You really didn't have one, but you were into the Reds when you got into high school. And the last thing I got for you is a very important question here as a Chicago native. Jordan LeBron.
I'm not going to answer that one.
There you go.
I'm a
Smart.
smart kid.
You
I'm not
are
going to
very
answer that
smart.
one.
Very smart. Because, Ryan, as I tell kids all the time, or young folks, I'm going to call your kid, you're a 24-year-old guy. You didn't see Jordan play. And if you did, you saw the Wizards time. It was a thing
Yeah.
back then. But you saw pretty much all of LeBron, and you're still seeing LeBron. And it's amazing. His career is awesome. So really appreciate your time here, Ryan. And you've been awesome giving your time here. You can follow Ryan at Ryan Galanie on Twitter, or he's got an Instagram up there too. So, Ryan, really appreciate you coming on there. Much success down there in Birmingham. If you are in the area, or if you want, as a White Sox fan, to see a great team, the Birmingham Barons last year won the Southern League. So you can go out there and watch him and the folks out there. They have that great pitching staff with the Hagen Smith out there. And those guys, it's like the big, huge Noah Schultz and Taylor. Goodness gracious, they have a pitching staff out there, and they got some hitters like Ryan Galanie. So check out the Southern League, check out Birmingham Barons this season, and hopefully you can get back to Carolina before too long and see those Charlotte Knights, Ryan.
I appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Herb.
So this has been Addison the 35th. I'll have a recap of the Houston Astros series on Sunday into Monday, so join me then. This has been Herb Lawrence, Acton Wall 23 for Addison the 35th. See you later.